Mara, Brianna said, do you really think a woman this fragile should control a $2.85 million trust? Grant did not defend me. He stood behind my sister's chair, one hand on it, as if he had already chosen his side. And Kelsey Monroe smiled like she had been waiting all night to watch me break. My husband told me, apologize to Kelsey before everyone thinks you're unstable. I smiled, walked into my sister's house, and laid his hotel receipts on the table. Minutes later, he whispered, Mara, please don't show the rest. My name is Mara Whitaker. I was 37, a licensed pharmacist in Austin, Texas, and the owner of Whitaker Family Pharmacy, serving nursing homes and clinics the big chains ignored. My mother, Eleanor, had been a nurse for almost 40 years. After Dad died, she raised Brianna and me on night shifts, coupons, and dignity. She bought rental houses and left me the trust my sister now called a mistake. 2 months after Mom's funeral, Brianna invited us to her house outside Austin for a quiet remembrance dinner. There were candles, Mom's photos, roasted chicken, pecan pie, and the green bean casserole I brought because Mom had loved it. For a while, I tried to believe we were there to remember her. Then Brianna began. She said I looked tired, then forgetful, then that raising Abby and Caleb while running the pharmacy must be too much for one grieving woman. Every sentence sounded like concern, but landed like a slap. Grant sat across from me in his navy jacket. Kelsey, Brianna's friend, sat too close to him. She brushed his sleeve, laughed at words he barely finished, and straightened his tie like she had done it before. I saw it. Aunt Ruth saw it too. I did not make a scene. My children were in the family room. Mom's picture was 10 feet away. Then Brianna tapped her fork against her plate. Mom loved you, she said. But love and judgment are two different things. I asked, what exactly are you trying to say? She sighed. Mom was weak near the end. You handled her medicine, her bills, her appointments. Grant stood, not beside me, beside Brianna. She's only worried about you, he said softly. I waited for him to call me capable, to say Mom had chosen with a clear mind. He said nothing. Brianna's voice turned sweet. Someone practical should help before you hurt yourself or the children. And there it was, concern. The costume she wore while sharpening the knife. My children are safe, I said. My business is licensed, and Mom's trust is not a family suggestion box. Kelsey gave a tiny laugh. Grant did not look at her, but his jaw moved like they shared a secret. Brianna leaned back. That reaction is exactly what I mean. I looked at my sister dressed like a grieving daughter, my husband standing like her witness, and another woman pretending she had no reason to smile. I did not know yet about the hotel receipts, the fake signature, or the small brown bottle behind the tea. I only knew Mom had been dead for 2 months, and my family had turned her last gift into a weapon pointed at my chest. My father died when I was 11. Brianna was 14 and old enough to understand the unpaid bills on Mom's kitchen table. Eleanor Whitaker did not cry in front of us often. She cried in the laundry room with the dryer running because she thought the sound covered it. Then she came out in clean scrubs, tied her hair back, and went to street, David's for another night shift. She was a nurse back when people still called every nurse honey and expected them to smile through exhaustion. Mom smiled when it helped a patient. She did not smile when someone tried to make her small. That was the part of her Brianna admired, but never learned. Brianna liked command. She liked being the loudest voice in a room, the daughter who knew which wine to bring, which dress to wear, which story made her sound important. She was beautiful in a sharp way, like polished silverware you were afraid to touch. I was different. I kept track of refills, insurance forms, doctor visits, and the small repairs at Mom's rental houses. If a tenant's heater broke in January, Mom called me. If her cardiologist changed a dosage, she called me. If she needed soup after a bad week, I brought chicken noodle in a plastic container and pretended I had made too much. Brianna called that playing saint. The last year of Mom's life, her heart got worse. Some mornings, she could still tease me about my coffee being too weak. Other mornings, she sat at the kitchen table with both hands around a mug, breathing like every breath had a price tag. I managed her appointments. I sorted her pills. I drove her to the bank, to the attorney, to the county office when one of her rental deeds needed updating. Brianna missed most of it. She always had a reason. Derek's construction company needed her. A client dinner came up. Traffic was terrible. She would arrive late, kiss Mom's cheek, and say, "You know Mara loves being in charge." Mom would only look at me, not angry, not fooled. When the will and trust were read, Brianna wore black and sat perfectly still. The attorney explained that Mom had left me primary control of a $2.85 million trust, cash, stock accounts, and income from several small rental homes around Austin. It was separate inheritance, mine, protected unless I chose to mix it with marital money. Brianna received a smaller share. Not nothing, not cruelty, just less. Because years earlier, she had borrowed money from Mom to save one of Derek's projects and never repaid it. Because she had once signed Mom's name on a small guarantee, then called it a misunderstanding when the bank noticed. Mom forgave many things. She did not forget patterns. Brianna hugged me after the reading. Her perfume was expensive and cold. "She must have been confused near the end," she whispered. I said, "She knew exactly what she was doing." Her arms tightened for half a second before she let go. That was the first time I understood something ugly. Brianna did not just want Mom's money. She wanted Mom's final judgment erased. And somehow, she had decided I was standing in the way. Grant Ellis knew how to look like a good husband. He opened doors. He remembered names at church fundraisers. He shook hands with doctors who partnered with my pharmacy and said, "Mara's the brilliant one. I just try to keep up." People laughed when he said it. I used to think he meant it with pride. Now I know some compliments are just resentment wearing a clean shirt. Grant worked as a mid-level financial manager for a regional insurance company. He was good at his job, but not exceptional in the way he wanted people to believe. He liked numbers. He liked respect. He liked being asked for advice. What he did not like was walking into a room where someone already knew my name. At first, it showed in small ways. If a clinic director thanked me for delivering emergency medication during a winter storm, Grant smiled too late. If someone asked how Whitaker Family Pharmacy was expanding, he would mention his own work before answering. If Mom told him she was proud of me, his hand tightened around his glass. I miss those signs because marriage teaches you to explain away what you are not ready to face. Then Kelsey Monroe appeared at one of Brianna's summer cookouts, holding a glass of white wine and wearing a white dress that looked too delicate for a backyard full of barbecue smoke. She was Brianna's friend from a real estate networking group. 35, polished, quick with compliments, and always leaning just close enough to make a man feel chosen. Grant noticed her before I did. Brianna introduced them near the patio. "Kelsey sells high-end property," she said. "Grant understands money. You two should talk." That sounded harmless. Most traps do. Kelsey laughed at Grant's jokes as if he were the funniest man in Travis County. She asked him about market cycles, interest rates, investment timing, things I had asked him about for years. Only now he answered like a professor with a captive audience. Later, in the car, he said, Kelsey actually listens when people explain things. I looked at him. What does that mean? Nothing, he said. Don't start. Those two words became a shield. Don't start. Don't start when Kelsey texted him about investment questions after 10 at night. Don't start when Brianna invited her to family dinners where she had never belonged. Don't start when Kelsey touched his arm and called him the only sane man in the room. I did not know Brianna had already seen the spark and decided not to put it out. My sister understood Grant better than I did. She knew his pride had a bruise. She knew Kelsey could press on it with soft fingers. And Kelsey had her own hunger. She sold houses, but what she really sold was access. If Mom's rental properties ever went on the market in a panic, she could put herself in the middle and call it business. One night, I came into the kitchen and Grant turned his phone face down so fast the sound cracked against the counter. Work? I asked. Yeah, he said. His coffee sat untouched. His ears were red. I wanted to believe him. A wife can become very skilled at helping her husband lie. But across town, Brianna was not grieving Mom. She was studying my marriage like a locked door, and she had just found the handle. After Brianna's memorial dinner, I found Kelsey near the front hall pretending to study the family photos. She touched the frame that held Mom's nursing school picture as if she had earned the right to stand there. Kelsey, I said. She turned with a smile too soft to be innocent. Mara, I hope you're not upset. Tonight was emotional for everyone. I kept my voice low. Abby and Caleb were still in the family room, and I refused to let them hear their mother beg for basic respect. I'm not interested in making a scene, I said. But don't touch my husband like that again. Her eyes widened, not with shock, with performance. I was just being friendly. Well, you can be friendly from a reasonable distance. For 1 second, her smile slipped. Then Grant appeared at the end of the hallway. Everything okay? Kelsey looked down like I had slapped her. It's fine, she whispered. I should go help Brianna. Grant watched her walk away. Then he looked at me, and I saw irritation before concern. On the drive home, he said nothing until the kids fell asleep in the back seat. Then his voice turned cold. You embarrassed her. I stared through the windshield at the dark stretch of Mopac. Your concern is with Kelsey? My concern is with you creating drama at your mother's memorial dinner. I asked another woman not to hang on my husband. She was being kind, Mara. She adjusted your tie. She's like family. I almost laughed. No, Grant. She's Brianna's friend. That is not the same thing. His fingers tightened around the steering wheel. You're grieving. You're not seeing clearly. There it was again. Not angry, not loud, worse. Measured, practiced. By the time we reached home, he had turned the whole night into a lesson I had failed. In our kitchen, under the soft yellow light I used to love, Grant told me I needed to apologize to Brianna and Kelsey that weekend. Like an adult, he said. I folded my arms. And what should I apologize for? For making everyone uncomfortable, for acting suspicious, for turning family grief into some jealous performance. I looked at the man I had married, the father of my children, the one who used to rub my shoulders after long pharmacy shifts. Why does her embarrassment matter more than my humiliation? He looked away. Not because he did not know the answer, because he did. Something inside me went very still. All right, I said. I'll apologize. Grant softened at once. He stepped forward and put his arms around me. I knew you'd do the right thing, he murmured. His hug did not feel like love. It felt like relief. Later, when the house was quiet, I picked up his phone from the charger. His old passcode did not work. I stood in the dark bedroom, listening to him breathe, and remembered Brianna teasing him weeks earlier. "You remember Kelsey's birthday better than your son's soccer schedule." My hand moved before fear could stop it. I entered the date. The phone opened. The first photo was from a hotel room downtown. Grant's shirt was open at the collar. Kelsey's hand rested against his chest. The mirror behind them caught the edge of a king-size bed and a room service tray with 2 wine glasses. I did not cry. Shock has a strange mercy. For a few minutes, it freezes the body so the soul can keep breathing. I sat on the bathroom floor with his phone in my lap. The door locked, the fan running to cover any sound I might make. There were months of messages. Lunches, he had called client meetings. Dinners, he had charged to our joint account. A necklace he bought her from a boutique on South Congress while telling me we needed to be careful with family spending until Mom's estate settled. Kelsey wrote, "You looked miserable beside her tonight." Grant answered, "I am miserable beside her most nights." That one hurt more than the picture. I saved everything. Screenshots, receipts, message threads, hotel confirmations. I sent copies to a private email Grant did not know existed, then backed them up again. A quiet woman is not always weak. Sometimes she is simply collecting evidence. I was ready to hate him for the affair. Then I found Brianna's name. Grant had written, "Brianna says we need more documentation before the attorney moves." Kelsey answered, "Then make her look unstable faster. I'm tired of waiting." I read the sentence 3 times because my mind refused to take it in. Make her look unstable. Not leave her. Not tell her the truth. Not even fight her for money. Make her look unstable. Another thread had Brianna texting Grant directly. "Don't push her too hard in public. We need concern, not obvious conflict." Grant replied, "She's suspicious." Brianna wrote, "Then be sweeter. She still trusts you." I had to set the phone on the tile. The bathroom smelled like lavender soap and children's toothpaste. Ordinary things, safe things. And there I was, realizing my husband and my sister had been discussing me like a file they needed to weaken before submitting. Pieces began sliding into place. The headaches that came after morning coffee. The heavy fog that made me forget Caleb's early pickup. The inventory email I almost sent to the wrong clinic. The afternoon I fell asleep at my desk and woke up terrified because I had never done that in my life. Grant had started making my coffee every morning after Mom died. "You're carrying too much," he would say, placing the mug beside my laptop. "Let me take care of one thing." I had thanked him. God help me, I had thanked him. I opened one more message. Kelsey wrote, "If the trust gets frozen, how long before Brianna can move the properties?" Grant answered, "She says not long if Mara is under review." My stomach turned cold. This was not just adultery. This was a plan with stages, witnesses, paperwork, and patience. I put Grant's phone back exactly where I found it. I washed my face. I stood in the mirror until I looked like a woman who had slept badly, not a woman who had just watched her life split open. In the kitchen sink sat the coffee mug from that morning. A thin brown ring stained the bottom. For the first time, my own home looked less like a shelter and more like a crime scene. At breakfast, Grant acted lighter than he had in weeks. He poured cereal for Caleb, reminded Abby to pack her library book, and kissed the top of my head while setting a mug beside me. "Made it just how you like it," he said. I looked at the coffee. Steam curled from the surface, innocent and familiar. "Thank you," I said, and wrapped both hands around the mug without drinking. Grant watched me for a half a second too long. I was thinking, I added, keeping my voice calm. You were right about Saturday. I should apologize to Brianna and Kelsey properly. Relief moved across his face so quickly he could not hide it. That would mean a lot, he said. Before he even finished breakfast, he picked up his phone and typed a message with his thumb under the table. He thought I did not notice. I noticed everything. After Grant left for work and Caleb ran outside to find his missing football cleat, I sat with Abby at the kitchen island. She was 10, old enough to understand tension, young enough to believe adults still had rules they would never break. Sweetheart, I said gently, has anything happened lately that made you uncomfortable? Her shoulders rose. Am I in trouble? No, never for telling me the truth. She looked toward the hallway, then back at me. Dad said not to worry you. My heartbeat changed. What did Dad say not to worry me about? Abby twisted the sleeve of her hoodie. A few weeks ago, I came home early from Sophie's. Aunt Brianna was here. She and Dad had papers on the kitchen table. When they saw me, Aunt Brianna folded them really fast. What did they tell you? That it was a surprise for you. Dad said you were stressed and I shouldn't mention it. I kept my face still because children read fear faster than adults read lies. Was there anything else? Her eyes filled. Sometimes Dad put something in your coffee. The room seemed to narrow. What kind of something? A little bottle, brown. He gets it from the back of the cabinet behind the tea. I asked once, and he said it was vitamin drops to help you not be so tired. I reached for her hand. You did nothing wrong, I said. Do you hear me? Adults are responsible for adult choices, not children. She nodded, but she did not believe it yet. After I walked her to the bus stop, I returned to the kitchen alone. The house was silent except for the hum of the refrigerator and the distant bark of a neighbor's dog. I opened the cabinet above the coffee maker. Tea boxes, honey, a jar of cinnamon sticks Mom had given me. Behind them, tucked so far back I had to stand on my toes, sat a small brown glass bottle with no label. I did not touch it with bare hands. Every instinct in me as a pharmacist screamed to open it, smell it, test it, prove what it was. But training is not just knowledge. It is discipline. Evidence can be ruined by panic. I took photos from every angle: the cabinet, the bottle, the shelf, the coffee maker beneath it. I recorded the time and saved the images to 2 places Grant could not reach. Then I put the tea boxes back exactly as they had been. By noon, the bank called. A woman from the trust department asked if I had truly submitted a request adding Grant Ellis to access permissions connected to my mother's trust. I said, no, freeze it. She hesitated. Mrs. Ellis, the electronic signature resembles yours, but our verification system flagged irregularities. Send me a copy, I said, and do not process anything until my attorney contacts you. When the document arrived, I stared at the signature. It looked like mine from a distance. Up close, it looked like someone had studied my name without understanding my hand. That was when I stopped thinking of Grant as a cheating husband. He had become something far more dangerous. On Saturday afternoon, I drove to Brianna's house with a folder on the passenger seat and my wedding ring feeling heavier than it had on my finger in years. Caleb was with Aunt Ruth. Abby had begged to come, but I told her this was grown-up business. That was the last gift I could give my daughter that day, keeping her away from the room where adults planned to dress cruelty as concern. Brianna lived in a stone front house with trimmed hedges, white shutters, and a porch swing nobody used. Everything about it said stability. That was her favorite costume. Grant opened the door before I knocked. You came, he said, almost smiling. I said I would. Inside, Brianna had arranged the living room like a family mediation. She sat in the armchair near the fireplace. Derek stood by the built-in shelves, uncomfortable in his own home. Kelsey perched on the sofa with a tissue already in her hand. Aunt Ruth was there too, which surprised me. Brianna gave me a soft, wounded smile. I thought it would help to have someone older and neutral. Aunt Ruth looked at me with questions in her eyes, but said nothing. Grant did not sit beside me. He stood near Brianna's chair again. That told me enough. Brianna folded her hands. Mara, we all love you. But love means telling hard truths. Then let's tell them clearly, I said. Kelsey sniffed. I never wanted to come between sisters. I set my purse down. No, you came between a husband and wife. Grant's face tightened. Mara. I opened the folder and placed the first page on the coffee table. A hotel receipt. Then a dinner charge. Then screenshots. Then the photo from the downtown room. Kelsey stopped crying. Derek picked up one page, read 3 lines, and his color changed. Aunt Ruth pressed one hand to her chest. Grant stepped forward. That's enough. No, I said. Enough was when you brought your girlfriend to my mother's memorial dinner and expected me to apologize for noticing. The room went still. For one clean second, truth had weight. Then Brianna smiled. Not wide, not loud, just enough to show me she had been waiting. This, she said quietly, is exactly what we're worried about. I looked at her. She lifted a folder from beside her chair. You secretly searched your husband's phone, printed private messages, came here to perform a trial in my living room. I came here because you asked for honesty. You came here unstable, she said. Grant lowered his head like a sad man in church. Mara hasn't been sleeping. She forgets appointments. She accused Kelsey in a hallway with no reason. No reason? Aunt Ruth said sharply. Brianna ignored her and spread out her own papers. A missed school pickup, an inventory correction, a note about me falling asleep at my desk. Half-truths, dressed up as a medical pattern. She needs an evaluation, Brianna said, before she damages the pharmacy, the trust, or the children. Kelsey whispered, I'm honestly scared of her. I wanted to scream. Instead, I gathered my pages one by one. Grant looked relieved, mistaking my silence for defeat. I turned to Brianna, then to my husband, then to the woman who had practiced tears in my place. Now I know who wanted to save me, I said, and who came to bury me alive. No one followed me to the door. Outside, the Texas sun was bright enough to hurt. I sat in my car with both hands on the wheel until they stopped shaking. Then I drove away with every lie they had told still sitting behind me in that perfect little house. By Monday morning, the first letter arrived. It came from the Texas State Board of Pharmacy, written in the dry language people use when they do not yet know they are holding a weapon. A complaint had been filed against Whitaker Family Pharmacy. The allegation was improper medication inventory management and unsafe record keeping. No finding had been made, but they wanted access logs, inventory reports, staff schedules, and my written response. I read the letter twice in my office while the phones rang outside and Rosa Martinez argued with a supplier about delayed antibiotics. My pharmacy was small, but it was clean, careful, mine. I had built it by knowing every patient's name, every clinic's delivery window, every nursing home nurse who preferred fax over email because she was too tired to learn another portal. By 10, one of our rehabilitation centers paused its contract. Only until this clears up, the administrator said. You understand, Mara. We can't take chances with compliance. And I understood too well. By noon, Caleb's school called. The counselor's voice was gentle, which made it worse. Someone had reported concerns that I had forgotten pickups, seemed disoriented, and might be under severe emotional distress. Who reported that? I asked. I'm not allowed to disclose that. I closed my eyes. Severe emotional distress? Those words sounded caring until they were placed in a file. At home that evening, Grant was waiting in the kitchen like a man who had rehearsed patience. I heard from the school, he said. Of course you did, he sighed. Mara, this is getting bigger than you want to admit. You mean bigger than your affair? His face hardened, then softened again. He was getting better at switching masks. I mean, you need rest. A few weeks. Let me handle the kids and the finances while you stabilize. Stabilize. There are words that bruise without raising their voice. My phone buzzed before I could answer. Aunt Ruth had forwarded me a screenshot from the family group chat. Brianna had written, "Please don't overwhelm Mara right now. She's been struggling since Mom passed. We're only trying to protect her and the children." Under it, cousins sent praying hands, hearts, soft little symbols for a public execution. I stood there with my husband watching me, my sister pitying me in front of relatives, my business under review, and my motherhood being turned into a question. For a moment, I wanted to throw the phone against the wall. Then I heard my mother's voice in memory, steady as a hospital hallway at 3 a.m. Never sign anything when your hands are shaking. So I put the phone down. To everyone listening, if you have ever watched a good woman get cornered by the people who should have protected her, leave a like and tell me in the comments what Mara should do now. Because what waited behind this accusation was not just another betrayal. It was the proof they never expected a quiet woman to find. Grant slid a folder across the counter. It's temporary, he said. Just permissions, bills, accounts, school forms. It'll show everyone you're cooperating. I did not touch it. He smiled the way men smile when they think calmness is surrender. You want people to stop worrying, don't you? I looked at the folder, then at the coffee maker behind him, then at the cabinet above it where the little brown bottle still sat hidden. Yes, I said. I want the right people to stop worrying. I walked past him, took my phone into the laundry room, and shut the door. The first attorney I found had retired. The second referred me to Denise Caldwell. When she answered, I did not introduce my life politely. I told her the truth in one breath. My sister, my husband, and his mistress are trying to take my children, my company, and my mother's trust. There was a pause. Then Denise said, "Do not sign a thing." Denise Caldwell's voice was calm enough to make me sit down. "Where are you right now?" she asked. "In my laundry room." "Is your husband in the house?" "Yes." "Then speak softly. Answer only what I ask and do not confront him tonight." I pressed my back against the dryer. It was still warm from Caleb's soccer clothes. Denise asked about the trust, the bank call, the complaint against the pharmacy, the school report, Grant's affair, Brianna's accusations, and the little brown bottle. When I told her I had photographed it but left it untouched, she said, "Good. Panic ruins evidence faster than guilt does." No one had said good to me in days. She told me not to sign anything, not a temporary permission form, not a school release, not a medical authorization, not a friendly family agreement meant to help me rest. People who poison your reputation rarely stop at reputation, she said. Those words went through me like cold water. Denise told me to save every message, every screenshot, every voicemail. She wanted the bank document, Grant's hotel receipts, Brianna's family chat, the pharmacy complaint, and a written timeline of my symptoms. "Do not post online," she added. "Do not defend yourself in the family group. Do not give them anger they can frame. After we hung up, I stayed in the laundry room another minute, breathing over the smell of detergent. When I stepped out, Grant was still in the kitchen. "Who was that?" he asked. "Rosa," I said. "Work issue." He studied me. I held his eyes because looking away would have made the lie feel larger. The next morning, I drove to the pharmacy before sunrise. Austin was still gray, the road slick from a light overnight rain. Inside the store, the security lights glowed over shelves of pill bottles, cold medicine, and greeting cards no one bought unless they were desperate. Rosa Martinez was already there. She had worked with me for 9 years. 46, sharp-eyed, practical, and impossible to charm when something smelled wrong. "I need to show you something," she said before I took off my coat. In my office, she opened the access logs on the pharmacy system. Her finger stopped on an entry from 11:47 p.m. the previous Thursday. "Admin override," she said. "Not yours, not mine." My mouth went dry. Could it be a system error? Rosa gave me the look she reserved for customers who insisted cough drops cured pneumonia. No. She showed me the inventory corrections. Small changes. Nothing dramatic enough to scream fraud, but enough to make a reviewer pause. Controlled medication counts adjusted, then corrected again. A pattern designed to look like sloppy management. "Whoever did this knew what would look suspicious," Rosa said. "Where did the login come from?" She clicked another window. The IP address was not from the pharmacy, not from my home. The location data pointed near the office complex where Derek Cole kept his construction company and where Brianna often worked out of a spare room when she wanted to help with bookkeeping. Rosa leaned back. I copied everything before it could disappear. I looked at her then, really looked. This woman had not asked if I was too tired, too emotional, too unstable. She had seen a problem and protected the record. "Thank you," I said. She shrugged, but her eyes softened. "Mara, people don't fake concern this hard unless they're afraid you'll find something." By noon, Denise had the files. By 3, she had contacted the bank and requested a formal freeze on any trust access change. By 5, she had drafted letters for the pharmacy board and Grant's attorney, though Grant did not yet know he needed one. That night, I did not drink anything Grant handed me. I poured my own water. I made my own tea. I slept with my phone under my pillow and my bedroom door unlocked because a locked door can trap you as easily as protect you. In the dark, Grant turned toward me. "You seem calmer," he said. "I am," I answered, and for once, it was not a lie. The next morning, I walked into Whitaker Family Pharmacy with my hair pulled back, my badge clipped straight, and a paper cup of coffee I had bought myself from a drive-thru on Lamar. It tasted bitter. It also tasted safe. Rosa noticed the cup and said nothing, but the corner of her mouth moved like she understood more than she wanted to. We had a staff meeting at 9. I wanted everyone calm. The complaint from the board was frightening, but panic spreads faster than truth in a small business. "We cooperate fully," I told them. "We provide clean records, no guessing, no side comments. If anyone asks questions, send them to me or Rosa." My voice sounded steady. My hands did not. Halfway through reviewing delivery schedules for 2 assisted living homes, the room tilted. Not spun, tilted, like the floor had quietly decided it no longer belonged under my feet. Rosa's face sharpened. "Mara?" "I'm fine," I said. That was a sentence women are trained to say right before they are not fine at all. My fingers went numb around the folder. Sweat broke along the back of my neck. The fluorescent lights above the consultation counter stretched into white lines. I heard a pill bottle roll off the table. Then I heard Rosa shout my name from very far away. When I opened my eyes, I was on the floor, staring at the bottom shelf of children's vitamins. Someone had put a folded jacket under my head. A young technician was crying. Rosa was on the phone with 911, using the voice of a woman who would not let fear waste time. I need an ambulance. Licensed pharmacist, sudden collapse, tremors, confusion, possible exposure. Possible exposure. Even half conscious, I understood what she was doing. She was giving them the truth without saying more than she could prove. At the hospital, everything smelled like antiseptic and warmed plastic. A nurse took my blood pressure twice. A doctor asked about prescriptions, supplements, alcohol, sleep aids. No sleep aids, I said. No new medication. He looked at my chart, then at me. Mrs. Ellis, your preliminary labs show traces of a sedating compound. Not a normal therapeutic level from any medication you've reported. It suggests repeated low-dose exposure. Repeated. The words sat on my chest heavier than any diagnosis. Denise arrived before Grant did. That told me what kind of lawyer she was. She stood at the side of my bed in a gray suit, holding a legal pad, her expression controlled but not cold. Do not discuss details with your husband, she said quietly. Not here, not alone. Aunt Ruth came next, bringing Abby with her because school had already called home, and rumors travel like wildfire when children are involved. Abby walked into the room pale and stiff, holding her iPad against her chest. Mom, she whispered, I'm sorry. I reached for her. Baby, come here. She climbed carefully onto the edge of the bed, afraid she might break me. I have a video, she said. Denise looked at Aunt Ruth, then at me. From where? Abby swallowed. I was recording my history presentation at the dining table. I left the iPad on because I forgot my note cards. When I came back, Dad was in the kitchen. Her fingers shook as she unlocked it. The video showed our kitchen from a slanted angle. Grant stood by the coffee maker in his blue work shirt. He opened the cabinet, reached behind the tea boxes, took out the brown bottle, and added drops to my mug. 1, 2, 3. He stirred it. Then he called, Mara, coffee's ready, in the same gentle voice that had made me trust him for years. Abby began to sob. I pulled her against me, tubes and all. You did not do this, I said into her hair. You hear me? You did not do this. She nodded, but grief does not obey the first truth it hears. Denise took a slow breath. We need the original device preserved. Abby wiped her face with her sleeve. There's more, she said. The iPad kept recording after I went upstairs. Dad called Aunt Brianna. The room went silent. Even the machines beside my bed seemed to hold their breath. Denise did not touch Abby's iPad. She asked Aunt Ruth to place it flat on the bedside table, then told Abby, Sweetheart, you are not in trouble. But from this point on, we protect the original exactly as it is. Abby nodded, her face still wet. My hospital room felt too small for what was about to come out of that little screen. Denise pressed play with the tip of her pen. At first, there was only kitchen noise, a drawer closing, water running, Grant clearing his throat, then his voice, lower than usual. She's starting to notice things. Brianna answered through the speaker, sharp and clear enough to turn my blood cold. Then stop acting guilty. Grant exhaled. She confronted Kelsey. Good, Brianna said. Jealousy helps us. It makes her look reactive. I closed my eyes. Denise whispered, keep listening. Grant said, the bank flagged the access request. A pause. They flagged it? Brianna snapped. They haven't rejected it, just delayed. You told me you could handle her signature. I did. No, Grant. Handling something means it does not come back with questions. That was Brianna. Even in a crime, she sounded like a woman correcting a dinner reservation. Grant's voice cracked. What if she calls an attorney? She won't if you keep her scared and tired. We only need a few more weeks. For what? For documentation, Brianna said. The school concern, the pharmacy complaint, the missed appointments, the way she went after Kelsey. Once enough people question her judgment, an attorney can ask for temporary limits. We do not need the court to hand us the trust. We need the court to freeze her control. My fingers dug into the hospital blanket. Freeze her control. Not help me, not protect my children. Freeze me out of my own life. Grant said, Kelsey is impatient. Brianna laughed once, without humor. Kelsey wants a man and a commission. She can wait. Money matters first. Aunt Ruth covered her mouth. On the recording, Grant said, and if Mara gets worse? She already looks worse, Brianna answered. That is the point. Denise stopped the recording. For a moment, no one spoke. The old me would have asked why. Why my sister hated me that much. Why my husband could pour something into my coffee and still kiss our children goodnight. But why is a question for people with time to waste. Denise looked at me. Mara, this is no longer only a divorce. This is suspected poisoning, forged financial access, conspiracy to interfere with a trust, potential business sabotage, and an attempt to manipulate family court. Aunt Ruth sat down hard in the visitor chair. My God, she whispered. Brianna planned all of this. No, I said, our voice rough. She directed it. Grant still used his own hand. Denise's eyes softened for half a second. That distinction will matter. She called Detective Alan Reeves from the hallway. I heard only pieces through the door. Preserved device, hospital labs, minor child witness, possible controlled access to evidence. Abby leaned against me, exhausted. Mom, she whispered, is Dad going to be arrested? I stroked her hair. I don't know yet. Is Aunt Brianna? I don't know that either. She looked up at me. Are you mad at me for not telling sooner? Pain moved through me so sharply, I almost could not answer. No, baby. A child should never have to carry an adult secret. You did not break this family. Denise returned, her face set. Detective Reeves is on his way. Until he arrives, no one calls Grant. No one calls Brianna. No one sends messages. A few minutes later, my phone lit up. Grant. Then again. Then a text appeared. Honey, I'm on my way. Don't let anyone upset you. I stared at the word honey until it lost all meaning. Then I turned the phone face down. For the first time since Mom died, I did not feel confused. I felt awake. Detective Alan Reeves was not what I expected. He did not storm into my hospital room asking dramatic questions. He was quiet, broad-shouldered, with silver at his temples and a notebook small enough to fit in his jacket pocket. He spoke to Denise first, then to the doctor, then to me. Miss Whitaker, he said, using my maiden name after Denise corrected my chart. I need you to tell me what you know, not what you think, not what you fear, what you know. That helped. Fear was a flood. Facts were stepping stones. I told them about the coffee, the bottle, the bank request, the pharmacy complaint, the access logs, the messages, the video, and Brianna's voice on the recording. He asked short questions, dates, times, who had keys, Who knew my passwords? Whether Grant had access to my work bag? Whether Brianna had ever been alone in my house? When I finished, he closed his notebook. "Do not go home tonight," he said. "I have children, and they need you alive and credible." That sentence silenced me. By midnight, Detective Reeves had requested a warrant for the house. Aunt Ruth took Abby and Caleb to her place. Denise arranged for a private security consultant she trusted to change my home locks only after police cleared the scene. Grant kept calling. I did not answer. The next morning, Detective Reeves returned with photographs. They had found the brown bottle exactly where I said it would be, behind the tea boxes above the coffee maker. They had collected mugs, a spoon from the drawer, and the coffee canister. They had taken Grant's laptop, his work phone, and the small notebook he kept in his briefcase. "What was in the bottle?" I asked. "Preliminary field work is not enough for court," Reeves said. "But the lab believes it contains a sedating compound that can cause confusion, tremors, memory gaps, and impaired coordination with repeated exposure." He did not sound surprised. That frightened me more. Then came the documents. Grant's laptop held a draft power of attorney naming him temporary financial decision maker if I became medically unable to manage complex affairs. The file had been edited 3 days before Brianna's dinner. The forged trust access request had been built from a scan of my real signature on an old pharmacy vendor agreement. The complaint to the pharmacy board came from an anonymous email, but the recovery data led back to a network near Derek Cole's construction office. "Near?" I asked. Reeves looked at Denise before answering. "Close enough that we are looking harder." And there were messages, too. Kelsey had sent Grant a link to a so-called sleep support product from a private seller. Her text read, "Use tiny amounts, enough to slow her down, not enough to make questions obvious." Grant replied, "Brianna says the symptoms need to match the file." I turned my face toward the hospital window. Austin traffic moved below like ordinary life had not paused for my private nightmare. Detective Reeves said, "Ms. Whitaker, people often make the mistake of thinking family crimes look messy. Some of them do. This one was designed to look responsible." Denise added, "That is why we move carefully." Carefully. That word used to feel weak to me. Slow, passive. Now it sounded like a weapon. By evening, the pharmacy board had received Denise's first response, including Rosa's saved logs and a preservation notice. The bank confirmed in writing that no trust access changes would be processed. Aunt Ruth texted that Caleb had eaten pancakes for dinner and Abby was asleep beside her with the dog. For the first time, my life was not safe. But the lies were no longer moving faster than the truth. Grant was questioned first. Detective Reeves later told Denise what could be shared with me. Not every detail. Enough. Grant walked in wearing the same kind of careful face he used at parent-teacher conferences and mortgage meetings. He brought an attorney, which told me he finally understood coffee could become evidence. At first, he called the bottle a supplement. He said I had been exhausted. He said he loved me. He said he only wanted me to sleep better. Men like Grant always reach for concern when truth starts bleeding through the floorboards. Then Reeves showed him the video. Grant's hand, the bottle, the drops, the spoon moving through my coffee. After that, the story changed. He said Brianna pushed him. Brianna planned it. Brianna knew the trust laws better than he did. Brianna said I was weak, careless, dangerous with money. Brianna said if he helped, he could protect the children and later start over with what he deserved. "What you deserved?" I asked Denise when she told me. Her mouth tightened. That word came from him. Kelsey broke faster. Her attorney saw the messages, the link to the drops, the hotel receipts, and the promised commission trail. By afternoon, Kelsey was offering cooperation like a woman throwing furniture off a sinking boat. She admitted Brianna wanted the trust frozen, not stolen outright at first. The plan was to make me look unstable, force temporary oversight, then pressure a fast sell of mom's rental properties through an investor group Kelsey knew. Kelsey would earn the commission, Grant would get a new life. Brianna would finally stand above me. Beautiful, wasn't it? 3 selfish people mistaking a crime for a business plan. Brianna arrived last. Aunt Ruth saw her outside the station and said she still looked perfect. Cream coat, low heels, hair smooth enough to offend God. She told Detective Reeves she had only been worried about her little sister. Little sister. Even facing felony questions, she still needed to make me smaller. Then Reeves told her Grant had blamed her. Her face changed. Just enough. He told her Kelsey was cooperating. That was when Brianna stopped sounding like family and started sounding like a cornered executive. She said Grant was weak. Kelsey was trash. Derek's office network meant nothing because half the family had used that office Wi-Fi during gatherings. She said I had always been dramatic, always needed saving, always resented her strength. By evening, Derek called Denise. He had hired his own lawyer and wanted it known that if Brianna used his company's systems, she did it without his permission. He turned over access logs, visitor records, and an office security clip showing Brianna entering his bookkeeping room late on the night the pharmacy complaint was created. That was the thing about greed. It invites people to the table, then teaches them to eat each other alive. When Denise finished explaining, I sat in Aunt Ruth's guest room with Abby asleep down the hall and Caleb's toy football under my chair. I thought I would feel satisfied. I felt tired. Not weak, not defeated. Just tired in the deep place where betrayal leaves bruises no scan can find. They're turning on one another, Denise said. No, I answered. They were never truly on one another's side. Outside the window, the neighbor's sprinkler ticked across the lawn in steady little bursts. Grant had poured poison with a gentle voice. Brianna had called it protection. Kelsey had called it opportunity. Now each of them wanted to survive by naming the others. And for the first time, I understood they had not underestimated my anger. They had underestimated my silence. Denise told me what to wear before the hearing. Simple, she said. Calm. Nothing that looks like armor. Nothing that looks like surrender. I chose a navy dress, low heels, and Mom's small silver watch. It still ticked with a patience I did not feel. Grant sat across the courtroom with his attorney. He looked tired, but not broken. Men like him know how to make exhaustion look like innocence. He kept glancing toward the doors, probably hoping Kelsey or Brianna would somehow carry the blame far enough away from him. Neither of them was there. This hearing was about my home, my children, and the space between Grant and the life he had tried to steal. The judge reviewed Denise's filings, the hospital report, the preserved video, the active police investigation, the forged trust request, the pharmacy access logs, and the school complaint that had arrived right when Brianna needed it to. Grant's attorney spoke carefully. My client has made mistakes, he said, but he remains the children's father. Denise stood. Your Honor, fatherhood is not a shield against conduct that endangered the children's primary caregiver and turned one child into an unwilling witness. I felt Abby's name in the room, even though she was not there. The judge ordered Grant out of the house. No direct contact with me. No unsupervised visits. Communication only through counsel or a court-approved parenting app until the criminal matter developed further. Grant lowered his head like a man absorbing tragedy. I remembered him stirring my coffee, Then came the trust. Denise made it plain. Mom's $2.85 million trust was inherited property. It had not been mixed with our marital accounts. Grant had no claim to it simply because he had slept under the same roof as me. The judge froze any attempted access change and warned Grant's side not to approach the trust, the bank, or the estate attorney without formal notice. For the first time in months, something inside me unclenched. Not happiness, room to breathe. Outside court, Grant tried to speak. "Mara," he said, voice low, "please, this is getting out of hand." Denise stepped between us before I could answer. "No direct contact," she said. Grant looked at me over her shoulder. "I never wanted to lose the kids." That was the closest he came to admitting he had expected to lose me. I walked past him. At the pharmacy, the board review had begun shifting. Rosa saved logs showed the suspicious edits, the outside access, the neat little pattern meant to make me look careless. Denise sent everything with a preservation demand and a timeline so clean, even the compliance officer sounded different on the next call. "We are reviewing this as possible external interference," he said. External interference. Such a small phrase for someone trying to bury my name. Aunt Ruth gave her statement too. She told Denise about Brianna's memorial dinner, the way my sister baited me, the way Grant stood behind her chair, the way Kelsey cried only when an audience could see. "I should have spoken sooner," Aunt Ruth told me later. I touched her hand. "You're speaking now." That evening, I returned home with the locksmith, Denise's security contact, and 2 officers who waited until Grant's belongings had been removed. His closet looked strange, half empty. His toothbrush was gone. His running shoes were gone. The framed photo from our anniversary still sat on the dresser because apparently memories were easier for him to abandon than evidence. I took it down and placed it in a drawer. In the kitchen, the cabinet above the coffee maker was empty. The police had taken the bottle, the mugs, even the spoon. Caleb ran in from the backyard and wrapped both arms around my waist. "Are we sleeping here tonight?" he asked. "Yes," I said. Abby stood by the doorway, quiet. I opened my arms and she came to me slowly, like she was still learning the house was allowed to be safe again. That night, I made hot chocolate in a clean pot. I let the children watch an old movie on the couch. I sat between them, one small body leaning into each side of me. No judge could give back what Grant had taken. But that day, the court gave me the one thing I needed most. A locked door between my children and the man who had called poison protection. By the time my divorce was finalized, Austin moved into summer heat. Denise walked beside me through the courthouse. Grant sat across from me without his wedding ring, eyes fixed on the table, hands folded like a man in prayer. I looked at those hands. They had packed lunches, tied Caleb's shoes, brushed Abby's hair from her face when she had a fever. They had also stirred my coffee. The decree was plain. Mom's $2.85 million trust remained mine. It was inherited property, never mixed with marital accounts, never Grants to manage, freeze, or protect. The house stayed with me. Whitaker Family Pharmacy stayed with me. Abby and Caleb stayed with me. Grant received no unsupervised visitation. Any future contact required court approval, a therapist's recommendation, and the criminal case still hanging over him. The marital accounts were reviewed line by line. Hotel rooms, dinners, jewelry for Kelsey. Grant used family money to pay for betrayal. The criminal cases moved slower. Kelsey folded first. With her license, messages, and commission trail exposed, she accepted a reduced charge for cooperation. Probation, fines, suspended real estate license. She cried in court, not for me, for herself. Grant pled after the lab report, Abby's video, and his messages left him no clean road. Harmful administration of a substance, forged documents, fraud conspiracy, unauthorized access tied to my pharmacy system. When he addressed the court, he said he had been under pressure. But pressure is a sick child at midnight. Pressure is holding your mother's hand while a doctor says the options are gone. What Grant did was choice. Brianna fought the longest. She wore pearls, hired a loud attorney, and repeated that she had only been trying to protect her unstable little sister. Then Derek's records came in. Office footage, network logs, Kelsey's testimony, Grant's plea, the forged signature trail. One by one, Brianna's stories lost their shoes in the mud. Her sentence was heavier than the others. She had directed the plan, built the false record, pushed the trust access, and helped turn poison into a legal strategy. When the judge spoke, Brianna looked at me, not sorry, angry, as if my survival had been an act of disrespect. You wanted me declared unstable, I thought. Instead, you proved exactly how dangerous you were. Later, relatives sent apologies. They had been misled. They had only wanted peace. I did not answer most of them. Peace built on a woman's silence is not peace. It is a decorated cage. That night, I unlocked my own front door. Abby and Caleb slept on the couch under Mom's old quilt. No one waited in my kitchen with a folder, a lie, or a cup of coffee. Only quiet, only home. After the sentences, people expected me to feel free all at once. Freedom did not arrive like that. It came in small, stubborn pieces. It came when Caleb asked, "Is Dad coming home?" And I answered without hating the question. "No, sweetheart. Dad made choices that hurt people, and grown-ups have to face what they choose." He nodded the way 7-year-olds do when they understand the shape of something, but not the weight. Abby was different. She carried guilt like a backpack full of stones. She apologized for not showing me the video sooner, for being scared, for trusting her father when he told her not to worry me. Every time I told her the same truth. You were a child. You did not break this family. The adults who lied did. We found her a therapist with kind eyes and a bookshelf full of worn-out stuffed animals. Some days Abby talked. Some days she sat in silence and held a pillow. I learned not to rush healing just because I was tired of pain. Whitaker Family Pharmacy survived too. Not untouched, but alive. Rosa stayed. A few clients never came back and I let them go. The ones who returned did so quietly, with careful words and embarrassed faces. I did not make them crawl. I had no interest in becoming cruel just because cruelty had visited me. I upgraded every system, new passwords, new security cameras, 2-person authorization for sensitive records. A part-time operations manager who treated compliance like a religion. One morning, months after everything became official, I stood in my kitchen before sunrise. The cabinet above the coffee maker was empty now, except for tea, honey, and cinnamon sticks. No brown bottle, no hidden hand, no husband calling poison care. I made my own coffee, slowly. I measured the grounds, poured the water, and watched the dark liquid fill the pot. My hands did not shake. Abby sat at the table, writing in the journal her therapist suggested. Caleb ran in the backyard with a football, yelling that our lawn was now his training camp. Then Denise called. "The estate attorney has something from your mother," she said. "A sealed letter. It was to be opened only after any trust dispute was resolved." And I picked it up that afternoon. Mom's handwriting waited on the envelope. "Mara, when you are ready." I sat in the parked car and opened it with trembling fingers. Mom wrote that she had not left me the trust because she loved Brianna less. She left it because she had watched who cared, who counted, who disappeared, and who returned only when money was mentioned. She wrote, "Money is not meant to control people. It is meant to protect dignity, freedom, and the right to choose when the world turns cruel." And at the bottom, one line broke me open. "My daughter, I did not work my whole life so you could hand your safety to people who resent you." I pressed the letter to my chest and cried like I had not cried in court, in the hospital, or at Mom's grave. That evening, Abby found me in the kitchen. "Mom," she asked, "are we going to be okay?" I looked at my daughter, my son in the yard, the home I had taken back, and the life they had failed to steal. "No, sweetheart," I said. "We are already okay." Family does not get to poison you and then ask for loyalty. Sometimes the only way to save what is good is to walk away from those who turned love into a trap. If this story touched your heart, please leave a like for the channel. And if you have any thoughts, share them in the comments below. Tell us where you are listening from. Thank you for staying until the end. Wishing you health, peace, and strength. Goodbye for now, and I will see you again in the next story on Revenge Glow.